Thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Under strange and unexplainable circumstances. Most cases remain unsolved. What happened? Where did they go? Locations unknown.
Thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joe Irado, and with me, as always, is a guy who can make an onion cry, Mike Vandebogart.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you once again to all of our amazing listeners for tuning in. Just a couple of announcements before we get going.
Except for that YouTube lady.
No, the Spotify. It was a comment on Spotify.
Oh, it was a comment on Spotify.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, except for her.
Except for her. You know who you are.
Very mean.
So that was a little inside ribbing.
Yeah, that's okay. It's fine.
We have no Patreon shoutouts this week. So that's a problem. So all of you listening, if you like the show, you can support us on Patreon, YouTube subscriptions, Spreaker subscriptions, Apple memberships. What else? You can call the show. 208-391-6913. Leave a voicemail. You've got a few more weeks until our live stream.
Spotify lady should call the number, as we always say. Yeah, you need to call and say all those things.
Because we know you're listening.
Yes. Yeah, because you don't stop listening.
Yeah. So call the show and tell us how terrible we are.
Yes, please. We have a huge special coming up. We want to play all the voices.
We're ready to put a voice to the hate.
Yes.
So let us hear you. What else? Like I said, we've got our live stream coming up on the 23rd. So if you want to call and leave a voicemail and get featured on that live stream, you've got a few more weeks. We've got some times set up now. So it's going to start on 7 p.m. Central Time. And we have confirmed Evan, our friend Evan Stone, will be wrapping the show up with us at the end. We're hoping for his friend. Can we say the name?
No, I wouldn't. No, because if it doesn't come through, then it'll just look dumb.
Yeah. We're hoping for a good friend of his to join. So stay tuned for that. Andy will be in the studio with us for the show. Should be a good time. We're going to go as long as it goes. So.
Heck yeah.
Joe's already yawning. We haven't even started.
I'm just taking a deep breath. What are you talking about? I'm not yawning at all.
Also, we've got some cool shows on our network that you can check out. Peanut Butter Mountain and Mountain Podcast, Off the Trails, The Weirdos We Know, Who Runs This Park, and Crime Off the Grid. Any other updates from you, Joe?
No, sir.
All
right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore Locations Unknown. July 21st, 2009. A seasoned backpacker set off alone into the rugged wilderness of Arizona's Grand Canyon. Facing scorching heat, limited water, and treacherous terrain, he soon found himself trapped in a remote canyon far from his intended path. As days passed, searchers raced against time in the harsh environment, uncovering clues that painted a chilling picture of how quickly nature can overpower even the most experienced adventurer. Join us this week as we investigate the tragic story of Bryce Gillies. So we're going back to Grand Canyon National Park, specifically near the North Rim area where his disappearance occurred. His disappearance occurred in a remote, rugged backcountry area known as Bonita Creek Drainage, which is located between Deer Creek and Thunder River areas west of Surprise Valley and northwest of the Colorado River. So this is in Arizona. It was established in February 26th of 1919 and sees roughly 4.9 million visitors per year.
That was as of 2024.
As of 2024.
More recent numbers.
That's right. Yeah, it was always pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And then they didn't run the numbers for a while. So some interesting facts about Yosemite, or not Yosemite, Grand Canyon. I don't know why I said Yosemite. Thunder River emerges dramatically from a cave directly from the canyon wall, creating one of the shortest rivers globally at just over half a mile long before it joins Tapeats Creek. It originates from a massive spring that pours forth thousands of gallons of water per minute. Deer Creek is renowned for its clear, perennial stream and beautiful narrows. The spot is known as the Patio, is famous for its picturesque beauty with Deer Creek cascading down sandstone walls into fresh pools, a rare, lush sanctuary in an otherwise harsh desert landscape. Surprise Valley lies between Deer Creek and Thunder River, known for its barren desert-like conditions, extreme temperatures, panoramic views, and random surprises. I made that last part. I'm just kidding. You didn't react at all. Despite its beauty, it's one of the most difficult and isolated areas in the Grand Canyon to traverse, known for sparse vegetation and limited shade. That's a surprise. You get in there and it's just treacherous.
I didn't flinch, but I should have, because I always joke that I could type in random things. You're kind of like an anchorman. You just read whatever
read
I
off
type.
the prompter. I probably would. Bonita Creek Drainage is an extremely rugged and seldom explored side of the canyon near Deer Creek. The area features dry waterfalls, known as pour-offs, vertical cliffs, and challenging terrain, making it highly difficult for even experienced backcountry hikers. The area is geologically fascinating, showcasing multiple visible layers of sedimentary rock dating back hundreds of millions of years. The red wall limestone and Tapeat sandstone formations visible in the cliffs and canyons are highlights of the area's dramatic geology. Despite harsh conditions, the area supports diverse wildlife, including the desert bighorn sheep, mule deer, coyotes, bobcats, and numerous bird species like condors, hawks, and ravens. Due to the region's remoteness, very few hikers venture here compared to more popular South Rim trails. It remains one of the least visited backcountry areas in the park. So the region holds significant cultural history with the archaeological sites from the ancestral Puebloan people and the other indigenous tribes scattered throughout the side of the canyons.
Real quick, did
Yes.
you see the news? They created dire wolves.
Yeah, but it's fake.
They're
They gene edited with CRISPR regular wolves. So it's like
I mean,
they kind of made dire
we'll
wolves.
see how big they get.
Yeah.
They were 5 months old and they're already 80 pounds.
Yeah,
5 feet long.
it sounds like it was a bad idea.
Yeah. I feel like there's a movie about this going wrong.
Yeah, there needs where's Jeff Goldblum talking about chaos theories with the shirt off on a couch?
Can you imagine hiking in the northern part of the country and you have to worry about dire wolves?
I know, right? Not if you're Jon Snow.
Full size, they said back 10,000 years ago, they got to 6 feet, 150 pounds.
See, why is that a smart idea?
Right. Next, we're going to bring back the saber-toothed tiger.
Exactly. It's like, let's just bring back a dominant force that will just eat everything.
Yeah.
That only people will be able to hunt.
Yeah. I don't know, but they did it.
They didn't listen to Jeff Goldblum when the first Jurassic Park, and look what happened.
Nature finds a way.
It does find a way. So we'll talk about the features of North Rim and Inner Canyon. The climate. So the specific region of the Grand Canyon National Park where Bryce Gillies disappeared is characterized by a harsh, extreme heat and dry climate. Sudden violent summer storms, minimal reliable water, and dangerous terrain. It is a semi-arid to arid desert climate, thanks to our friends over at the Köppen climate classification system. Significant temperature variation between the rim and canyon bottom due to elevation differences. So the North Rim, which is approximately 8,000 feet or 2,438 meters for our foreign friends, cooler temperatures, pine forests, and occasional snow in the winter. And the Inner Canyon, which is 2,500 feet or 762 meters to 4,000 feet or 1,200 meters, is hot, dry, desert-like conditions, little vegetation, sparse water sources. The North Rim's temperature is typically 75 to 85 degrees or 24 to 29 Celsius in summer. The Inner Canyon regularly exceeds over 100 degrees or 38 degrees Celsius, often reaching 110 or 43 degrees Celsius or higher during peak summer months. Generally, very low humidity, under 20%, is in the summer. The summer monsoon season, July to September, brings intense afternoon thunderstorms, brief heavy rains, flash floods, and lightning. That'd probably be cool to watch.
Yeah.
From the top, like if in a safe space, watching big storms come through the canyon would probably be beautiful.
Well, this kind of reminds me a little bit of Zion.
When we were in that
hit
storm.
That storm, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Maybe you don't want to be on the rim, but
No, you don't. In like a hut.
Yeah, in a hut. Or
Like, you know how they have those like hotels you can stay in? You'd like overlook. I want to be in there and watch the storm come in, not in our position where we're
just
like running away from flash floods
getting
and things.
blasted by sideways rain.
Yes. So a little more about the terrain. The specific terrain in Bonita Creek, Deer Creek, Thunder River, and Surprise Valley area on the North Rim, where he disappeared, is rugged, remote, and challenging. It's an extremely rugged desert canyon, deeply incised canyon separated by steep cliffs, sheer rock walls, and abrupt elevation changes. There's limited or no main trails, and much of the area involves off-trail navigation. So it's very dangerous in that regard, where you can just wander off and get lost.
Yeah.
The North Rim Plateau is about 8,000 feet or 2,400 meters. Surprise Valley, approximately 3,600 to 4,000 feet or 1,000 to 1,200 meters. In the Colorado River, around 2,400 feet. Some of the dangers in the area, besides animals, extreme heat and sun exposure, I think that's going to be the biggest one. With daytime temperatures exceeding over 100, like 210, you need to have tons of water. You want to be hiking early and avoid late. You just
early or late.
Yeah, early or late. Avoid peak heat in the middle of the day. Wear protective clothing, sunscreen, hat, sunglasses. Keep your skin covered. There's not a ton of reliable water sources. You have some in Thunder River, Deer Creek, obviously because there's rivers and creeks. But outside of that, it's very intermittent and absent, especially in the Bonita Creek is usually dry. So you want to plan carefully, carry extra water, confirm water sources ahead of time, have contingency plans. This is where it's important to go to the ranger station and talk to the people who wander the park every day and know what's going on.
Especially
they'll tell you what's up.
That low humidity, 100-degree heat with 20% humidity.
It's just sucking the water off.
Sweat is just going to evaporate right off your skin, which will just cause dehydration to happen that much quicker.
Yeah.
Your body just won't be able to cool off and will just keep sweating. And we experienced that in Canyonlands. It was the same kind of conditions, not as hot because we went later in the year, but the humidity, it was so dry. You didn't even feel like you were like wet from hiking because it just evaporated so fast.
Just sponged it up.
Yeah.
No bueno. So sudden monsoon storms and flash floods are an issue. Arizona's summer monsoon storms can form rapidly, causing lightning, intense rain, hail, and flash floods. So you want to check the weather forecasts closely. Avoid narrow canyons during storm threats. Seek higher ground quickly if the storm appears.
Rain and canyons do not mix for hikers.
No, not at all. Tons of difficult and dangerous terrain, steep cliffs, rock scrambles, loose footing, dry waterfalls, also known as pour-offs, and no clearly marked trails in many areas. So proper footwear is important, accurate maps, GPS, route finding skills, experience in technical terrain, rope or climbing gear is if necessary. So just like we said, there's tons of navigational challenges. You have complex maze-like topography. Many similar-looking canyons side by side can cause hikers to lose track of their intended route. I could imagine if you're in the bottom of a canyon, you really can't get your 3 points of triangulation on a map. If you don't know exactly where you're at, it's just canyon walls. You're guessing.
Yeah, it's tough.
So having a reliable map, compass, and GPS device, I would say GPS is probably the most important. Careful pre-trip route planning, study, marking the trail junctions, carrying emergency signaling equipment. And in this case, you want to have like one of those satellite rescue things.
Yeah, one of those beacons.
You can rent them.
Yeah.
And they're not that expensive.
If you're going to do this type of hiking where you're going off trail, backcountry, basically just
where it's allowed to go off trail. Because out there, like, it's so backcountry, go wherever you want.
Yeah, you really need to plan ahead and make sure you know how to use all this navigational equipment and really have a plan and like know how to use a compass.
Yes.
And, even like have a map and use your compass and mark on the map your starting point so that you have some bearing.
And be good at it.
Yeah.
Like I've used a map a few times in a city or whatever. Like when you're in a place like that,
yeah,
you need to be good at it.
And you'll find from the story we're about to talk about, make sure you have some rope and some basic knowledge on how to climb and, maybe how to rappel, because it would have saved this individual's life if he would have had some of that gear with him.
What else would have worked? Just give away the story. We'll get into the rest of the information. Is just kind of repeat what we said. Temperature extremes, physical exhaustion, all the things you can imagine in a desert-like environment you want to avoid. So let's get into Bryce Gillies.
Yeah. So like Joe said, the name of this subject is Bryce Gillies. He was born July 18th, 1989. He was reported missing July 21st of 2009. His remains were found July 25th of 2009. He was a male, age 20. Height was 5'3", 130 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. He was an Eagle Scout. He was known for his outdoor skills, and many said he was an experienced backpacker and climber. Clothing and gear he was last seen in. We don't know a lot about the gear he was in. There's some assumptions, and based on pictures and his experience, he probably had a lot of the standard gear you would have to hike in this environment. He had a backpack, and many people originally said that he had adequate water with him, which we learned later on is not the case, but he really didn't have any navigational gear or emergency beacon with the gear that he had, so that's going to be a big problem. Personality, highly adventurous, independent spirit. A lot of people said he was driven by curiosity and an appreciation for natural beauty. He was said to be responsible, meticulous, like I said, a skilled outdoorsman. He was also dedicated, community-oriented individual. He was involved in humanitarian work. He was also very, intelligent, academically gifted. He was a physics major. And before this hike, he was known for being cautious and well-prepared. So this was very unusual for him. No medical issues were known at the time. Occupation, hobby. So he was still a college student at Northern Arizona University, like I said, a physics major. He was an outdoor enthusiast. He hiked, kayaked, he climbed, he backpacked. And very charitable. He volunteered with Engineers Without Borders, and he recently had returned from a humanitarian trip in Ghana. So they were building medical clinics. So sounds like a really good guy. And up until this point, a very, cautious but experienced outdoorsman. So, and everyone said that he had extensive, he's only 20 years old, but he had extensive wilderness experience. And he did backpacking, long distance hiking. He did have some backcountry survival experience. Like I said, he kayaked. He was a climber. He'd already completed sections of the Appalachian Trail, which is pretty impressive at only the age of 20. And experience in this location, he was familiar with the broader Grand Canyon region as a student living in the area, but specific in this experience in this specific location, the Deer Creek Thunder River area of the North Rim was limited. So,
okay.
And this area is so rugged and intense. You would have to be, I don't know. You'd have to hike this a lot to really start to feel comfortable out here.
Yeah, I can see that.
And the trip was reportedly inspired by a magazine. I think it was Backpacker. They did an article on this hike. So that was kind of his inspiration.
Okay.
And for those of you just listening, Joe has got Google Earth up, and we're kind of starting to look at the location that he went missing in. Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on.
Okay, so right into timeline. We are starting July, so it's July 18th and July 19th of 2009. So on Saturday, which was actually his 20th birthday, he set off alone for a backpacking trip into Grand Canyon National Park's North Rim backcountry. He drove to the remote Bill Hall Trailhead, a starting point for access to Deer Creek and Thunder River trails on the North Rim. The Bill Hall Trailhead is located along a rough forest road about halfway between the park's Tweep area and the main developed North Rim facilities. From this trailhead, hikers can drop into the canyon towards features like Surprise Valley, Thunder River, Tapeats Creek, and Deer Creek. Gillies' goal was to reach Deer Creek, Thunder River area, known for its waterfalls and water sources, and he likely planned a 2-night route, expecting to hike out by Monday. Before heading in, he had informed others that he would be back by July 20th, but unfortunately, I don't think it was very well known what route he was going to take, so he didn't really inform anyone on his
Not the
planned
full
route.
itinerary, just the time.
Yeah. So this solo trek was the culmination of his summer adventures. Gillies had read enticing descriptions of the Thunder River and Deer Creek oasis and was eager to experience canyon perfection, as he called it, firsthand. He started down the trail with a backpack full of supplies. This was an assumption that was later put into question. By all accounts, he was well prepared with water for the planned route and had the skills of an Eagle Scout and seasoned hiker. The weather at the outset was tropical for midsummer in the Grand Canyon. It was very hot and dry. Daytime high temperatures on the canyon's north rim and inner canyons were in the 90-degree Fahrenheit range, mid-30s Celsius, with the lower elevations even hotter. What are we looking at here? Is that bonita?
Yeah.
Is that a cow?
Where? What?
Go down.
Where did you?
Oh, no, it's a rock. I don't know. It looked like
what
a
are you
cow.
talking about?
Yeah, I don't know.
So
Got
I
it.
see. This is apparently right by Bonita Creek. There's Bonita.
Oh, that's the Colorado River.
Yeah, and this is Tapeats Creek. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're not like here. Like right here is in the mouth of where Tapeats enters the Colorado River.
Okay.
Supposedly, sometimes these are off. No, that looks like it's correct.
And that one's dry a lot of the time in the summer.
Yeah.
So, makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. Gillies descended into the harsh environment alone, aiming to camp in the canyon and reach the flowing waters of Thunder River or Deer Creek, where he could replenish his water. It's also good to note there were no incidents reported on the 18th or 19th to the National Park Service, and that makes sense because this is a very remote part of the park, and there is no cell phone reception down here. So it's believed he hiked down from the rim and into Surprise Valley, which Joe had said earlier is basically a desert. This is the central area between Thunder River and Deer Creek drainages. At some point, however, he made a critical navigational error. Instead of staying on the established route to his water resupply, the Thunder River Spring or Tapeats Creek, Gillies apparently veered into the wrong canyon drainage. Evidence later suggests he turned down Bonita Creek, an adjacent side drainage, by mistake. This small navigational error, as his father later called it, would prove fatal when compounded by the extreme heat and terrain.
Yeah, this is a shot from inside Surprise Valley.
Yeah, that's
It's just rugged rocks.
no
cover,
no cover from the sun,
like anywhere.
no vegetation really, other than just some small grasses and some cactus here and there. And yeah, it's a brutal environment, and
Surprise!
this is bringing back memories of Canyonlands. That's kind of the same environment.
You getting a little PTSD?
Yeah, I mean, this story really brought home our experience we had in Canyonlands, because we didn't experience quite what he did, but we ran out of water, and it was a similar environment. I mean, it looks very similar to this. Probably more dry than this even.
Yeah, so he went down one of these, kind of like what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
But he went down one too steep that he couldn't get back up.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he kept going off of what do they call them? Pour-offs.
Yeah.
So dry waterfalls, and he kept climbing down them, but then got to a point where he couldn't go down more and couldn't go back up.
Oh, it's terrible.
So, like we said, he was unaware of the mistake at first, and he continued down Bonita Creek Canyon, moving further from the trail and the reliable water sources he intended to find. It's now July 20th, 2009, a Monday. So this is day 3. This was the day he was expected to return.
So he was trying to get to Thunder River, but he ended up in Bonita?
He went down the wrong drainage, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yep.
he was in here.
Yeah.
And he meant to go this way, but he ended up following this one.
If that's Bonita, yeah.
Yeah, this is Bonita.
Yeah, because I don't even think he got that far.
Yeah, he got stuck. All right. Yeah, this looks pretty gnarly up
Probably,
here.
yeah. And we don't even know if he was on.
Yeah, here's Surprise Valley. So he should have went over to here, and he went down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he probably got stuck right in there somewhere.
You think right away?
No, not right there, like a little further down.
Yeah, right in this
Probably
stuff?
somewhere.
Yeah, this doesn't do it justice either. Oh, what happened?
Oh, so, all right, Monday, July 20th came and went with no sign of Gillies' return. This was, like I said, the day he had told people he would be back from his trip. When he did not show up or check in by the end of the day, family and friends grew concerned. Gillies' father, Randy Gillies, was expecting to hear from him on the 20th. By the next morning, which would have been July 21st, with still no word, the alarm was raised. At this point, those close to Bryce realized he was overdue in the canyon and might be in trouble. However, it's not uncommon for Grand Canyon backpackers to run a few hours late, and honestly, it's not uncommon for backpack hiking anywhere for you to be a little off your schedule.
Yeah.
That's why you don't want to panic if someone's a half a day late. I mean, it happens. People usually overestimate how you think it's going to be easier than it is.
Yeah. So
You
they
always
underestimate.
Underestimate,
As
yeah.
I say, I usually overestimate
You
because I know, and I'm like, okay, I got to give myself a little leeway here.
Yeah, I always think, oh, it's 15 miles and we'll do this in X amount of time, and then it's usually
More than that.
it's always more than that.
Yeah.
It's the joke. It's always like, oh, summit's right up over that ridge.
It's just over the hill.
It's over the next
It's
hill.
over the next hill.
Yeah.
We're right there.
We're right there. No, we're still a mile away. That's common. So, yeah, it's not uncommon for Grand Canyon backpackers to run a few hours late, but entire overnight overdue was cause for serious worry. The family knew Bryce was experienced and cautious, so for him not to make contact as planned indicated a potential emergency. Also, very important to this case, Gillies had not obtained a backcountry permit or filed an official trip itinerary with the Park Service prior to his hike. I think any takeaway from this case, one of the most important things is always obtain that backcountry permit and file the itinerary with the MPS. It will benefit you if you get lost.
Yeah, they fly a helicopter right over there. And
Yeah, that gives them a starting point of where to look for you. So, I mean, it's not great to do this just off book regardless, but just for your own safety, you should do this every time. So this, like I said, this meant that park rangers had no immediate record of his planned route or destination. The only information available initially came from Bryce's family and friends once they realized he was missing. The problem also with this is the NPS would have been alerted sooner if he hadn't come out of there. So
yeah, it's easy for them to do like an initial.
yeah. So the concern prompted Bryce's family prepare to notify park authorities. The Grand Canyon's backcountry permit system, which is required for overnight trips, is one way the park tracks where hikers intended to be. But without a permit on file for Gillies, the search would have to start from scratch. It's now July 21st, 2009, which is a Tuesday. This is the 4th day. This is the day he's officially reported missing. So Tuesday, 2009, the situation escalated. By the evening of July 21st, Bryce Gillies was officially reported missing in Grand Canyon National Park. Around that evening, the Grand Canyon Regional Communications Center, which is Park Dispatch, received a report that an overdue hiker or possibly multiple hikers had not returned from a backpacking trip in the Deer Creek Thunder River area. This report came from Bryce's father, who called park officials when his son failed to come home as scheduled. There was also, part of the park didn't even know how many people were in his hiking party at this point. So initially there was some confusion about the party size. The report suggested that at least one and as many as 3 young men might be missing on the trip. This uncertainty arose because it wasn't immediately clear if Bryce had gone alone or if any friends had accompanied him. Acting swiftly, park rangers began contacting Gillies' acquaintances to gather information.
See, this stinks because I'm looking at this. This is what he thought he was going to.
Yeah.
It's like way easier to go down. There's actual water.
And you'll find he wasn't that far from there.
Yeah, it was, it's right here. This is the difference.
Yeah.
So he, instead of going this way, he just went this way. And it starts off looking similar.
Yeah.
From what it looks like.
But you can see the greenery in there. So, that...
Yeah, I wonder if he, there's
water. There's flowing water.
Yeah, he probably just didn't know. The area well enough to know he should be expecting certain things. And he's probably thinking, let's go down lower. Just go down lower. All right, keep going.
Well, and that's kind of the logical... He wasn't aware that he was lost yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think by the time he noticed, that's when it was too late, which is just so unfortunate.
And because of... Sorry, I got logged out of the notes, so I'm going to...
No, that's fine.
I'm rambling.
This is oddly beautiful. It's funny because you go there, there's nothing there, but then you're there and it's so massive.
Yeah.
It's so big.
Yeah, and logically, I feel like he kind of did what most people would do. You're thinking, all right, I just got to keep going down. I'm going to eventually hit the Colorado River.
Yeah.
That is logically probably what he was thinking. And somebody he's probably I'm lost. Okay, well, if I just keep going down, I know the Colorado River's down there.
That is a good point because most people when they're lost, they don't know where they're at.
Yeah.
But if you're in one of these, it does,
You're in a
all
drainage.
of them go to the Colorado River.
They all go down to the Colorado River. So logically, if you don't know about those pour-offs, you're thinking all right, I just keep going down, I'll get to the river. That makes sense.
I probably would have done the same thing.
But you don't think about, and I probably wouldn't have known about this either, is those pour-offs and how you can get stuck on them.
Yeah.
If you don't have any climbing gear.
I was going to say, although here I'd probably have rope at a minimum.
I always carry rope when I hiked in the Southwest just because of situation. We had some situations where we could get down, but we needed to lower our bags first. We wouldn't have been able to go down with our bags on. So just having rope to do that.
Yeah.
So, it's always important to bring some rope with you. It's not that heavy. So, yeah, like I said, the search is kicking off. They're trying to verify if there were any other hikers in his party. Late night, park investigators had determined that Bryce most likely went to the canyon alone, and there were no other missing persons associated with the incident. This allowed rescuers to focus on a single missing individual rather than a larger group. With the missing persons report filed, Grand Canyon National Park search and rescue personnel were mobilized. Even on the night of July 21st, some initial steps were taken. Park staff began their initial investigation, so they're in the planning phase right now. They're planning aerial reconnaissance for the next day of all the known trails and major drainages in the area where he was believed to be. They were contacting other hikers or river rafting groups in the region to ask if they'd seen any sign of him. So, it's now July 22nd, 2009, Wednesday. This is day 5 of the disappearance. So now the search is beginning in earnest. So Full-scale searches started, operations in progress on the North Rim. Early that day, park rangers located his car parked at the Bill Hall trailhead on the North Rim. Finding this vehicle was a critical early clue. It confirmed his point of entry, and he had indeed started down from that trailhead. So sometimes in these cases, they don't even find the car. That makes it even harder because you don't know the point of entry. The Bill Hall trailhead is a remote parking area used to access the Thunder River Deer Creek trail system. Gillies' car being there meant he had gone into the canyon from that spot on July 18th and had not returned to it. The discovery narrowed the search initially to the routes accessible from that trailhead, but there were still many miles of trails and side canyons to cover. Throughout July 22nd, the SAR teams carried out wide-ranging search tactics. An NPS helicopter conducted aerial searches, flying over trails, drainages, and accessible canyon areas looking for any sign of the missing hiker, such as a person or campsite or signal fire. On the ground, rangers began to sweep the trails in the Deer Creek, Thunder River, and adjoining areas. They also interviewed other backcountry hikers, river rafting trips on the Colorado River, and fellow backpackers in the vicinity. They were all contacted to see if any of them encountered Bryce. The hope was that someone might have seen him over the weekend, which could pinpoint his path or last known locations. Unfortunately, these early efforts yielded no immediate sightings. However, the Grand Canyon backcountry in the region is, like Joe mentioned earlier in the beginning of the episode, it's a maze with deep side canyons separated by arid plateaus like Surprise Valley. So spotting a lone individual is extremely challenging. By Wednesday evening, the search command refined their strategy, knowing now that they were looking for a single hiker. Late on July 22nd, ground search teams were inserted into the backcountry to begin a more thorough search in likely areas. And inserted just means they were flown in by helicopter and dropped in. So that just makes
hiking easier.
It makes it easier on the searchers, and they can really use that to pinpoint certain areas, get like a go team on the ground right away.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming there you have to hike a significant distance just to start your hike. Yeah. So if it cuts that time out, that makes the most sense. So, I mean, you already have the helicopter searching the area already.
And it allows you to have searchers in multiple different areas like right away, because time is of the essence in this search, because he's going to be running out of water quick.
Yeah, and they're already 5 days into this thing.
Yeah, so rescuers likely camped out in the canyon that night, prepared to resume at first light. The first full day of searching concluded with Gillies still missing, but with crucial clues like his car, and groundwork laid for an intensified search. So it's now July 23rd of 2009, a Thursday. This is now day 6 of the case. So the search is now intensifying. The operations ramped up significantly. There was still no sign of Gillies. But the Grand Canyon officials are expanding their resources at this time. The search area was broad and rugged, spanning from the Deer Creek drainage across Surprise Valley to the Pete's Creek drainage and down to the Colorado River. Essentially, all the canyons accessible from where Bryce started. Search managers were essentially covering multiple potential routes since they had no knowledge of Mr. Gillies' specific plans. On July 23rd, 2 additional ground search teams were flown in and deployed in a joint effort. These teams composed of park rangers and trained search and rescue personnel, and they were assigned to systematically scour different areas. By this day now, there were approximately 50 personnel involved in the search, including NPS rangers, backcountry search specialists, and volunteers from not only Grand Canyon National Park, but also neighboring parks. Rangers from Zion National Park and Glen Canyon National Recreation Area were brought in to assist bolstering the manpower and expertise on the ground.
So real quick, this is not at Grand Canyon, but I just want to, this is a pour off.
Yeah, it's a
So, like,
a waterfall.
Yeah, so like you can imagine getting stuck at the top and going, oh.
Oh, and then you can't get out.
Yeah, and if you can't
climb
climb
out.
back up, you're just stuck in this like little spot
Yeah,
and then exposed to full sun
just
all day.
baking.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
So it's really cool that one of the coolest things of out west is there's so many national parks in a pretty close area. So, Grand Canyon was able to pull resources from Zion and Glen Canyon National Recreation Area to help with this search. So that does happen, for some of these bigger searches.
Yeah.
The team split up to cover critical zones. One focus was the Deer Creek Thunder River Trail corridor. Since that was Gillies' reported destination, ground crews searched along established trails, side paths, and water sources. Another focus was the adjacent Surprise Valley and nearby drainages. Surprise Valley is a scorching, sparse area between Tapeats and Deer Creek. If Gillies got lost there, he would be very exposed. The park helicopter continued to conduct aerial sweeps whenever possible, flying low over canyon drainages to spot any trace of Bryce. However, like in most cases we cover, the weather did not cooperate, so summer weather began to complicate the search. Like Joe mentioned earlier, July is monsoon season in Arizona, and by the afternoon of the 23rd, thunderstorms were building. The helicopter had to search as weather permits, meaning the flights could be grounded by storm cells or turbulence. Crews on foot also had to be cautious of lightning and flash flood risks in the canyon. So basically, if any weather rolls in the afternoon, the search pretty much shuts down until that's out of there, because all of these canyons can get flooded pretty quickly, even if the rain is 20 miles away. So they're not going to risk, a whole search team. So they have to stand down, which, like we said, time is of the essence in a search in this environment. Throughout this day, unfortunately, rescuers were on high alert for any clue of footprints, discarded gear, camp remains, but they didn't find anything. There was no definitive sign of Bryce Gillies in the area. Even though nothing had been found yet, morale among searchers remained determined, and Gillies' family waited anxiously for news. Park spokesperson Shannon Merkak, sorry, we'll cut all that out. Nope. Issued a statement on July 23rd describing the intensified search and urging anyone who might have seen Bryce after July 18th to contact the NPS tip line. The searchers knew that with each passing day in the intense heat, the situation grew more dire, so they pressed on into the next day. It's now Friday, July 24th, 2009. This is day 7 of when he started his hike. The search is continuing. This marked the third full day of searching, and crews continued to comb the Grand Canyon's backcountry for any trace of the missing student. Search and rescue teams scoured a wide swath of rugged terrain on Friday. Ground teams and aerial units coordinated to cover as much area as possible. Specific areas targeted this day included Surprise Valley, the Thunder River Overlook, and the Tapeats Creek area. These locations cover both sides of Surprise Valley. One team likely peered down into Deer Creek and Bonita Canyon on the west side, while another team covered Thunder River and the Tapeats Creek to the east. By extending the search all the way down to the river, teams were also checking the Colorado River corridor in case Bryce had made it to the water or if any sign had washed downstream. Environmental conditions on July 24th were challenging. The National Weather Service forecast showed a 50% chance of afternoon thunderstorms, and temperatures soared into the high 90s or 36-37 Celsius in the search area. For search teams, storms could be a double-edged sword. Cooler temperatures and rain might provide slight relief and perhaps water sources, but they also could hamper visibility and mobility. The heat earlier in the day remained a major concern. Anyone lost without water in this climate would be in grave danger of dehydration and heat stroke. By Friday, the search effort had been exhaustive, yet no public announcement of found items had been made during the day. Gillies' family and the park crew Park staff grew more concerned with each hour. It is likely that on July 24th, searchers finally started to find critical clues, although this was not announced until the next morning. According to the Park Service, personal items belonging to Bryce, including a backpack, were discovered in the vicinity of Bonita Creek at some point during the search. This discovery obviously is pivotal. Bonita Creek is rugged side canyon west of Deer Creek Trail. It's off the main maintained trails and would not usually be visited by a hiker intentionally, especially when looking for Thunder River or Deer Creek. Finding Bryce's backpack or gear signaled that he had indeed strayed into Bonita Creek drainage. The timing of this find is not explicitly stated, but official reports suggest that by early July 25th, rescuers had these clues in hand and thus redirected their efforts to the Bonita Creek area. So it is possible that these items were found late on the 24th, which was Friday evening, or at first light on the 25th. But either way, it prompted a complete shift in the search operation. By the end of day 3, search leaders had their first solid lead. Bryce Gillies had been in the Bonita Creek drainage. They prepared to concentrate their resources there at daybreak. It's now Saturday, July 25th, 2009. Day 8. Can you imagine? I don't think you could survive out there for 8 days.
No, not in that heat.
No.
I mean, it's 3 days without water generally.
Yeah.
So, like, in the heat, it's like, I can't imagine it was more than a day or two, honestly.
Probably a day at most. I mean,
which is, like, almost better for him, like, rather than suffering for several days in the heat.
Yeah.
So, that's just really sad.
So, sadly, Saturday, July 5th of 2009 would bring a tragic end to the search. Armed with the knowledge that Bryce's belongings were in the Bonita Creek drainage, rescuers narrowed their search to the specific area and the surrounding terrain. Early that morning, teams moved into Bonita Creek Canyon, approaching from multiple directions. One search team was tasked to come upstream from the Colorado River confluence, moving up Bonita Creek towards the last known clues. Meanwhile, other personnel likely came in from above, hiking down from Surprise Valley. At approximately 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, July 25th, a ground search team ascending the Bonita Creek drainage from the river made the sad discovery. They found the body of a young male at the top of a 100-foot pour-off in Bonita Canyon. The location was less than a half a mile from where Bonita Creek meets the Colorado River.
So that's right here.
Yeah.
This looks like a giant pour-off, which is...
that looks like about a half a mile.
Yeah, I did, like, as the crow flies. It is... Oh, let me zoom out now.
When you're done doing the crow flies, zoom back into that spot.
2,600 feet is roughly half mile. So it's, like, in this range. From where?
Zoom into kind of that range where you saw...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right where zoom in.
That's right here.
Zoom in more because I think
it doesn't get better.
So I mean, picture that's kind of what situation he was in. He was coming down from the top.
If you look, there might be like a ledge right here.
Yeah.
If he came down here, got stuck and couldn't go down any farther.
And at this point, he's probably not only dehydrated but weak.
Yeah.
So even if there was a chance, and that looks like it could be about 100-foot drop.
Yeah, it's aggressive. And this is just the rendering. But by comparison, I'll go into this canyon.
And that's
right here. And this one's way flatter.
And that's why I saw a trail. I mean, that's why you hike that one.
Yeah, like this one's way flatter, and you can see, it
has
not
flowing
nothing.
water.
Yeah, it's not nothing as far as the distance down on just down to this little river.
And I think you zoom out, there's a trail on the other side that you can see from the air.
Oh, part of it's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate you take a wrong. Yeah, you can see that. I mean,
it's
from
this
satellite
view. He should have gone down here. He went down here first.
Which is crazy how close he was.
Yeah.
Half a mile from the Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the Park Service said no one no one takes that route because it's
For that reason.
and it looks like if he could have gotten. Now we're assuming this is,
Yeah, I don't have real pictures of this area.
but I feel like if he had gotten past that 100-foot pour off,
Oh, look, the rest of it you can
he
kind
would have
of
made it down there.
Yeah, you can kind of see from the river. It's still kind of aggressive, but you can kind of see almost all the way up in there.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't have been so bad. I don't know.
That's crazy. It just shocks me how close, he was a half mile to the Colorado. So close.
Yeah, it's really sad.
So, like we said, his body was found 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, July 25th. They found, like we said, they found him at the top of a 100-foot pour-off. The location was a half mile from the Colorado River. Rangers on the scene presumptively identified the remains as Bryce, who was the only person who had been reported missing in the area. Near the body, searchers also found another backpack and personal items confirming it was likely him. The discovery site, was deep in the canyon, indicated that Bryce had nearly made it to the river. He was roughly half a mile from the Colorado, but was stopped by the final 100-foot drop-off in Bonita Creek. With the heartbreaking find, the multi-day search and rescue operation transitioned to a recovery mission. Park officials coordinated the retrieval of the body from the difficult location. A helicopter was brought in, and using a technical long line operation, rangers lifted the body via helicopter out of the canyon and transported it to the rim. From there, the remains were taken to the Cochino County Medical Examiner's Office for formal identification and to determine the cause of death. The recovery operation likely took a few hours on Saturday, and by afternoon, the news was relayed to the Gillies family. The discovery of Bryce Gillies' body on July 25th ended the intensive 4-day search that had involved 50 personnel from Grand Canyon National Park, as well as assisting staff from Zion National Park and Glen Canyon. The crews had deployed aircraft, ground teams, technical rescuers, and countless man-hours in the rugged, remote wilderness to find Bryce. The outcome was not what anyone had hoped for. Park Ranger Ann Peterson, who led the search, and her team brought closure by locating Bryce, but it was a somber moment. The news was soon shared with the public. An Associated Press bulletin that afternoon reported that the body was presumptively identified as Bryce Gillies, and that it was found Saturday morning. So we're not going to have our normal theories because we kind of know what happened.
Yeah,
but
it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I'm just going to discuss kind of the aftermath of what happened to Bryce. So in the days immediately following the recovery, park officials and Gillies family reflected on what happened. On July 26th and 27th of 2009, the National Park Service and media reported the incident's conclusion. The body was obviously confirmed to be Bryce Gillies, and attention turned to how and why this tragedy occurred. The medical examiner's review, along with evidence at the scene, indicated Bryce likely died of dehydration and heat-related illness or heat stroke, and originally may have said it was exacerbated by a fall or injury, but his father said that his body didn't show any signs of a fall or injury, and it was likely dehydration. The narrative that emerged was one of a capable young man overtaken by unforgiving conditions after a small mistake. Investigators pieced together that when Bryce mistakenly went down Bonita Creek, he found himself in increasingly treacherous terrain without a water source. He had carried enough water for his planned route, but that plan hinged on reaching Thunder River to refill. By going the wrong way, he missed that opportunity. Facing extreme thirst as his water ran out in the 100-degree Fahrenheit heat, Bryce apparently made heroic efforts to save himself. So according to, this is a quote from his dad, Bryce made a heroic effort to rescue himself, his father, Randy Gillis, said of the situation. Evidence suggests Bryce attempted to climb down towards the Colorado River in search of water. He descended several 20 to 35-foot rock ledges without rope. Incredibly dangerous feats trying to reach the flowing river or the creek below. So that's tough.
That is tough.
35-foot ledge without rope.
Yeah.
I mean, he's lucky he didn't fall and
Break his legs.
Break his legs doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the limit of what. I mean, other than the one guy who climbed Half Dome.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, he either became trapped above the 100-foot sheer pour-off or was too weakened to continue. Investigators believe extreme heat and dehydration overwhelmed him in such conditions. Dehydration can occur in as little as a couple of hours, Randy Gillies noted grimly. Bryce likely perished sometime between July 20th and July 22nd in the drainage before rescuers could find him. There was no indication of foul play. It was a fatal combination of wrong turn, harsh environment, and physical limits being pushed. Gillies' family, while devastated, chose to emphasize lessons that could prevent future tragedies. Randy Gillies publicly thanked the searchers for their exhaustive efforts to find his son and praised their dedication. He also turned his focus to advocacy, urging other wilderness adventurers to learn from Bryce's case. In interviews, he stressed the importance of always filing a backcountry permit and leaving a detailed trip plan with the park or someone responsible. If you don't take anything else from this tragic story,
We should make a Venn diagram of how to not get lost in national park, and it will all culminate in tell someone where you're going to be and actually be there.
Yes.
It quite literally is has come down to that for so many people.
Yeah.
It's I hate to think about it. He probably would have been fine if they knew even if they knew he was supposed to go to the other drainage, because they would check both of them and be able to do it relatively quickly.
Yeah, because they said he passed away either on, between the 20th and 22nd. He started on the 18th, and the 22nd, the search started on the 22nd. So,
maybe.
Potentially in this case, because of how harsh the environment was, he may have already passed away before the search even started.
Yeah, good point.
But either way, we can't stress enough.
Yeah. There's no reason why you'd take an extra arrow out of your quiver. It's a really easy thing to do to just add another thing that could help you potentially.
And I think this underscores, if you're going to do some really gnarly backcountry hiking like this, have a personal locator beacon on you.
Yeah. And go with other people.
Yeah. Hike in a group.
Yep. So,
though, if he had been with his friends, they might have all ended up on that pour off, succumbing to the elements too.
I would imagine that one would go down at a time, and just in case. But yeah.
Either way,
we can play what ifs all day.
Just the sheer odds if you have more people in the group, one of them might have realized they were in the wrong spot.
Yeah. And not even gone into that drainage.
Yeah. One of them be like, hey, I don't think this is right. Let's turn around and go back the other way.
Yeah.
Just having more eyes on the situation, I think, would have benefited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me go back to the aftermath section here.
Did you lose your spot?
Well, I went up to see when the search started. So, let's see here.
I highlighted it. You can click on my name.
There we go. So park officials echoed what we just spent 5 minutes talking about. It's always let someone know where you're going and when you'll be back. This just underscores how critical that information can be for saving a life. Beyond permits, there were other safety takeaways. Grand Canyon Rangers noted that Gillies was hiking in one of the most remote and demanding areas of the park during the hottest time of the year. That's why we did Canyonlands in September, not July, because it gets to 100 degrees there too. Mm-hmm. It's just, you don't want to hike in the desert at that time of the year. And we started each day off at dusk. And by 11 o'clock, we would take a break in the shade. And we'd start hiking again in the afternoon at 2 2 or 3.
Just when it's not peak.
You don't want to, when you're hiking in that kind of heat, you just don't want to hike at peak sun.
Yeah.
So, it slows the whole trip down, but anyone listening who's hiked in the Southwest, they'll know what I'm talking about. It's just hot and brutal.
Yeah, it's way less grueling.
It feels like you're hiking in an oven.
Just plan for that time. And then it doesn't feel like you're wasting time. Just if this is where like the planning comes in. If you know that you're not going to be moving at peak time, you'll plan appropriately. It's not going to bug you.
And you know what? You're in beautiful land.
Yeah, just sit and enjoy it.
Just sitting there in the shade, having some water. We usually would bring a little whiskey or something with us, like probably not the best advice.
Is that why you got lost?
Yeah, right.
Last time
we didn't have whiskey for us in Canyonlands, but
okay.
Other trips we had. But it's just nice to sit there,
I think
just take it in.
alcohol will dehydrate you more.
Oh yeah.
So you probably don't want to do that.
But just take in the scenery, the surrounding. I mean, it's beautiful. Just unplug and just sit back, kick your feet up, and wait for it to get a little cooler out.
Yeah.
So, like we said, solo hiking in such conditions carries a lot of high risk too. Future park publications and newsletters discussing summer hiking have cited cases like Bryce's to remind visitors about the dangers of extreme heat, dehydration, and solo travel off trail. Hikers are now strongly encouraged to carry navigational tools, maps, compass, GPS, and even personal locator beacons in remote areas so that a minor navigation error doesn't turn deadly. Gillies' mistake of going down the wrong drainage is a common way hikers get in trouble in the Grand Canyon's maze of side canyons, and his story has been used to caution others. If you realize you're off route, do not keep descending deeper. It's often safer to stop, conserve energy, maybe backtrack, or wait for help rather than pressing into unknown territory. In the aftermath of Bryce Gillies' death, Grand Canyon National Park did not announce any formal policy changes. The permit requirement was already in place, but there was a reinforced push in educational materials about backcountry safety procedures. The multi-agency response to this incident demonstrated the value of well-coordinated SAR operations, but also the tremendous effort and risk involved in rescuing or recovering lost hikers. Gillies' case became an example in park safety talks, highlighting how even a fit, experienced young hiker can fall victim to the elements. And I think we can't thank the searchers enough.
Yeah.
Every case we do, thank them because, Bryce experienced terrible conditions in the park, but so did the searchers looking for him.
Oh, yeah.
They were out there for 4 days nonstop in the same conditions.
And hurrying
because they knew every hour the chance of finding him alive was slimmer. So can't thank all of those dedicated people enough for what they do. For unknown people they've never met in their life.
Yep.
Like, it's amazing there's humans on this planet that do stuff like that. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that wouldn't, but thankfully we have some tough individuals and that are willing to do this for a complete stranger they've never met.
Yeah.
Probably never will meet in some cases.
Yeah.
Bryce's family and friends mourned the loss of this bright and compassionate young man. His obituary noted that he died July 25th, 2009, while backpacking in Grand Canyon, and remembered his academic achievements, volunteer work, and love of nature. In memory of Bryce, those who followed his story have spread the message about preparation and caution in the wilderness. Grand Canyon officials and Gillies' family hope that others will heed these lessons, plan ahead, respect the environment's dangers, and never take solo wilderness travel lightly. As one park bulletin put it, the tragedy ultimately emphasizes the imperative of these safety measures for all who venture into Grand Canyon's beautiful but unforgiving backcountry. So finally here, before we sign off for the night, so Bryce had a cell phone with him, and pretty much at no cell signal, but he left some memos in his phone when I think he realized he wasn't getting out of there. And his family, so months after his death, Gillies' parents received the cell phone he had with him. It did not receive signal in the canyon, but Gillies used it to tap out 2 memos to friends and family. First memo read, "Life is good, whether it is long or short. I was fortunate enough to do and see much more than most and for that good fortune I am most thankful. His messages included dashes of humor. He wrote that he was thankful he had his BlackBerry because it was easier to use it instead of chiseling a message in the rocks. He said he believed in God and was unsure what the afterlife held, but he wrote, I hope there is water. So it is kind of funny that he was still cracking jokes.
Yeah.
It sounds like he
Makes
knew.
you feel better about,
Yeah.
like he was at peace
At
with what was happening.
Like he knew it was done.
It's scary to think about, just being alone there and like having to accept your mortality.
Yeah, like at what point you're sitting there like, I'm done.
Yeah. And to still have
Some humor in it.
some humor, some positive, like he knows his family's going to probably see it.
Yeah.
So
in the final message, right before the battery on his phone died, he typed out the final sentence. He said, I feel like going into the wild is a calling. All feel, some answer, and some die for. That was the last message he left in the phone. So pretty intense story, tragic story.
I'm like happy he got his messages out.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing.
Like if you can ask for any silver lining to this whole story of like tragedy, it's that he got his messages out, that his family saw it.
And I think in a way that it probably made it a little easier for his family.
It would for me.
When they finally read it, be like, wow, he went out still cracking jokes.
Yeah.
And he seemed at peace with what was about to happen. And I mean, there's no way around it. This was, a terrible tragedy for the family, but
Yeah.
at least there's closure in that they found his remains, which is not usually the case in episodes we cover.
Yeah, it's pretty rare for the ones we cover.
Yeah, and he was able to get this message out to his family and friends, and you can kind of get a glimpse of where his head was at near the end, which is crazy to think about.
In like pretty good spirits.
Yeah.
Given the scenario and what he knew was going to happen. So it's
And
incredible.
he just turned 20. Like such a young guy. Like,
yeah, like seriously.
I mean, to have that kind of worldview and that kind of strength in the face of your own mortality is pretty amazing for anyone, let alone a 20-year-old. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine I would have wrote something like that when I was 20.
No.
I probably wouldn't even thought about it.
No.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. Pretty wild case.
Yeah. Thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate all of you for listening and sharing Locations Unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where you can find the videos of each episode. Also, if you'd like to support the show monetarily, please visit our website or Facebook store to buy some cool swag. I keep saying swag. Merch. Cool merch. Additionally, you can subscribe to our Patreon account on YouTube and Apple, where you'll have access to special events and additional shows for paid customers only. Lastly, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.